What is happening, guys? So in this video I wanted to show you this graph, and hopefully this is going to be helpful for some of you guys to consider different price points and use cases for your computers. I know a lot of people just want to build like a gaming slash streaming setup. Some people just want to build some like a video editing only kind of rig. So yeah, I created this graph here, and I'm just gonna go over all of the these like orange, red, blue dots, so that you guys can understand like what is what. So this is price to performance market analysis, and this is good for August 2020. So okay, so let's just get into it. So first, these red dots, this is gonna be price, and so you can see I put like numbers on top of it, and so if you multiply this by 100, you get the system cost. So and by system cost I mean the price of CPU, motherboard, RAM, and like CPU cooler together. For example, if we are using i3 9100F, our system cost is going to be $202. For Ryzen 3 3300X, the system cost is $268, and so forth. So the way I came up with this price is I created these two like pages for Intel and for AMD system. So let's go over those really quick right now. All right, so as you can see, there's a bunch of things going on here. First, so what I did here is I have this column for the motherboard. This is RAM, and then I'm using 16 gigabyte on each build, and then CPU cooler, and total price. So this doesn't have price for the CPU. The CPU price is actually in this table. So I'm using this table to analyze like performance to price ratio, but right here you can see the column for CPUs, and then this is the price for the CPUs. So Coffee Lake builds, Comet Lake builds, this set of parts is going to be great for this or this processor. So right here I used two motherboards, and I like both of them because they have, like it says here, have heatsink for VRMs, and then RAM I'm just using 2666 because this is the what like i5-9400F works with. So and CPU cooler is included with i5-9400F, as well as lower version of like of this processor, which is like i3-9100F. So yeah, the price for the CPU cooler is going to be 0, and we just get price of this motherboard added to the price of the RAM, and it's $130. So for i5-9600K, we're using MSI Z370 or MSI Z390 motherboard. So you have two price points there, and then Hyper 212 Black Edition for cooler, and for say i7-8700K, if you were to build, well, basically I don't know if anyone is going to build on this processor right now, but I just included this for the reference, and I am using either MSI's, either like Z370 or 390 boards, and You can see different price points there. Same RAM speed, but I'm upgrading cooler here to Noctua NH-U12S, and it's a great cooler. So this cooler has 5 heat pipes, and it's rated to take on that i7 8700 or on the actual like Noctua website, so that's why I selected this cooler, and it's $60. All these prices are before tax, just so you know. So yeah, and then this is just a total of all of them. Comet Lake builds. I used this processor in my personal rig, i7 10700. So this processor has 8 cores, 16 threads, and it's not overclockable, but it can boost up to 4.6 gigahertz. You know, works for me. So yeah, and then I have like a few options here for the motherboard. We have MSI board, like the cheapest one, doesn't have heatsink. I've heard people put in some builds with this, with i7 10700, and it was working just fine. But yeah, I'd rather go for like some like MSI Mag B460M or B460M motor, like with Wi-Fi. So you just pay $10 more and you get like a Wi-Fi 6, which is like the latest one. If you were to buy it separately, it's going to be like $30 to $35. So yeah, just something to consider. Same here, like Asus TUF Wi-Fi, it's $130, and Asus is a great brand. I mean, MSI as well is a good one. So you know, it's up to you, the preference. But I'm just using basically these totals, and I add the price of the CPU, and that's how I get this like system cost that I plot here on this graph. And you can see that it's sorted from like the cheapest one. So basically we have like 3 groups here. So we have like a low cost, and then middle cost, and then these are like super expensive, you know, options. But back to Intel system, here we have some options for you know, overclockable i5 6 cores 12 threads processor, or you know, 8 cores 16 threads overclockable, or we also have option to build using 10 cores 20 threads processor here. And you know, I have these coolers. So Hyper 212 Black I'm using for 10600K, Noctua NH-U12S for 10700K, and then Noctua NH-U14S. Yeah, it looks like it has a bigger heatsink as well. So those are rated to take on these processors. You can also go non-AS version for these coolers. They're just you know, they're pretty big. They have 2 fans and they have 2 sets of heat sinks. I mean, yeah, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 6 heat pipes. These are just monsters. All right, so for AMD systems, it's a little less variations. So we have 2000 series processors from like AMD Ryzen. So I think it's Zen Plus architecture officially. So we have the very you know, low budget one oriented. So I like this motherboard. It has 2 M.2 slots, 2 heat sinks for VRMs. The very next one would be 2 Asus TUF B450M Pro gaming. So be careful and make sure you get in Pro version, not the other one, because there is another one. I forgot what's the name of it, but yeah, this one has really great VRMs and it can take take 8 cores and 16 threads processors easily. And so I priced that and at $120 plus. So for 2000 series, I'm using 3200 megahertz RAM, and then for 3000 I'm using like 3600. So here we have ASRock B450M Pro, like same one as this one. So you can install Ryzen 3600 and you'll be fine. So this is fine for 6 cores, 12 threads. And then for 8 cores, 12 threads, I'm upping this a little bit. And then, you can, I'm also including an option with cooler, so you can install this like nicer cooler for your processor, for your like 8 cores, 12 threads. And that's the 3700X from AMD. And then these are like X570 chips for like 3900 and 3950X processors. So yeah, with that in mind, you can see that these are like prices that we like I said, we have 3 categories here. Then what I did, I used a UserBenchmark website, and I took all of the measurements they have, like average numbers for every processor, and I manually just like copy pasted it all here. So say for example for i3 we have single core, like 1 core performance at 120 points, 2 cores 236 points, and 4 cores 439 points. So since it's a 4 core chip, going from 4 cores to 8 cores to 64 cores is pretty much the same. Yeah, so let's see. If we were to go with this one, this has 16 cores, 39 threads, and single core is like 137, and then 64 cores is just this giant monster number. It's like 2771, and that's just like number one performer in terms of like multi-core performance, 64 cores performance here. And you get these prices, and then I also have system cost here, which is, as you can see, it's M2, so it's like price of the processor plus the price of the system. And I also created this coefficients. So this is P2P, stands for price to performance. So I calculate price to performance for each processor, for 1 core, for 4 cores, for 8 cores, for 64 cores. So and then what I can do is I can sort this all range by I can just select this all range, and I can sort it by price to performance 64 or price to performance 8 core or 1 core. So as it is right now, it is sorted by 4 cores. So I consider 4 cores is great for gaming, and therefore these coefficients, like this coefficient here is like on top, and this is for i3 9100F. And honestly, I think 4 cores is not enough in 2020. And I mean, it's not only that I think that, it's just a lot of YouTube channels and a lot of websites, they have that data. You can just look it up for yourself. But so basically what it means is that you kind of have to look at this graph, and it just gives you numbers, but at the same time you have to understand that you have to consider a bunch of other factors. But what it gives you, it kind of gives you like a picture of what is what, in terms of price to performance. So what I did, what I did farther down, I normalized all of the numbers. So I have system cost normalized from like 0 to 10, and then price to performance 4 cores normalized like from 0 to like 9 maybe, and then 64 is like 0 to 10 as well. So basically all of these numbers are normalized from, by multiplying like certain. So basically what I needed is to scale these so it's not like a one line, like single one line like this one here. You can see this yellow is like pretty much one line. So when I like scaled it like up and down a little bit, you can see clearly like what is what. Okay, so with this graph, you can see that price to performance in terms of like 64 cores, there are these 4 processors that stand out, and these are, let's see, so we have Ryzen 5 1600AF, and this processor is priced at 105. So that was the price when I was recording this, or like when I was creating this table. So at $105, this processor just wins in terms of like 64 cores performance. It doesn't mean that this processor has like the most score for like multi-core performance. The most score has this like Ryzen 9 3950X, and you can see it's somewhere here. So I consider everything from like 8 to 10 is like a good price to performance in terms of like video editing. And so video editing or like design or any load that requires like multi-core performance. So yeah, these 4, and then what we have: 1600 AF, Ryzen 5 1600, Ryzen 5 3600, and Ryzen 5 2600. So these are all 6 cores, 12 threads processor, and they perform pretty nicely considering the price point. So next we have these 3 here: Ryzen 5 2700X and Ryzen 5 3700X. So these processors are 8 cores, 12 threads, and they perform really good. And so as you can see, this is like in the second price range. So if you were to start like say video editing, you might want to look into investing in something like around this price range and selecting any of these 4 processors. Probably the 3600 is going to be like the best one. And then next price point is like $458 to $525. I mean, this Intel i7 10700 is $530. This is what I have for myself, like my own system. I just like Intel, but Ryzen is great too, especially Ryzen 5 3700X. So this would be like your next step for video editing. Gives you like really nice performance, because like, so yeah, like these like price to performance blue dots indicate this. And then the the most expensive ones are like these 3 processors. So we have i9 900K overclocked at 5.1 gigahertz, and then Ryzen 9 3900X or Ryzen 9 3950X. So the best one out of these 3 is like this one, 9 3900X, and for the combo of like 4 parts, which is like CPU, your motherboard, RAM, and CPU cooler, you're paying like $705. And it includes, like, the price includes motherboard that is going to be great for this processor. It's going to it's the X570, so it's $150, $165 It's a great price point to get into, and then you get to upgrade the cooler to like the very nice one as well. So I don't think this 3950X comes with the cooler, so that was included in the price. So this would be like your most expensive option out of all of these options. Okay, cool. So this is we just went over these like blue dots, and this is gonna be like your video editing. So for gaming, I just used 4 cores performance to like price to performance ratios, and plotted them here, and you can see that we have an absolute winner, which is i3-9100F, but it only has 4 cores, so 4 cores are not going to be enough for your gaming. So the very next option is this one, which is Ryzen 3 3300X, except it's not in stock yet. So yeah. And then the next option would be option from Intel. So what's cool about this processor is that it has 6 cores and it's overclockable. And then you can overclock it to 4.9 gigahertz, and you get like really nice performance. You get like 5 to maybe 10 frames per second less if you were to buy 9700K or 9900K. So 9700K is 8 cores processor and 8 threads. This one is 6 cores and 6 threads, so i5. So it's considered one of the like by some of the people, it's considered like one of the best performance wise. It can drive video, like very powerful video cards. So yeah, and it's strictly for gaming. So if you were to like stream or like do chats on the background, and you might want to consider like 6 cores 12 threads processor, or 8 cores 8 threads processor, but it's going to be a different price range after that. So yeah, let's see here. So these are like pretty much on one line here, so yeah, I guess any one of these will do. So Ryzen 5 3600, as you can see, this one is not the best price to performance in terms of like gaming. It's great for like multi-core loads, but for gaming, I guess it's all right. After this point, all of these are like strictly for your multi-core performance, and I wouldn't really consider these for gaming. Yeah, you can buy them for gaming, but you're not going to utilize like full potential of your processor. You're just basically going to overpay for things that you're not going to use. I mean, I guess it's up to you if you can afford like this price range. I mean, I could probably consider these processors, because I mean, these are really nice. You have like 6 cores 6 threads, i5 overclockable, like latest 10th generation from Intel. 8 cores 8 cores, 6 cores 12 threads, 8 cores 8 threads, 8 cores 16 threads. These 3, same this one is 8 cores 16 threads as well. Yeah, so yeah, this is the video. I hope this is gonna help you guys to choose parts based on whether it's just gaming, or if it's gaming and streaming, or if it's just like a video editing rigs that you are looking to buy. So thank you for watching, and just leave a comment below, subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.